Our first Great Idea speaker is RPCV, Liz Fanning, who flew all the way from Casablanca to be here today. Liz Fanning is the founder of CorpsAfrica, a nonprofit that provides young adults across Africa the opportunity to serve as volunteers in their own countries. It is based along the lines of the Peace Corps model and works to find and implement solutions to poverty at the community level. Fanning has more than 20 years of fundraising and marketing experience at nonprofit organizations that focus on public education, community empowerment, environmental preservation, and international development. She served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Morocco from 1993 to 1995 in the high Atlas Mountains, where she lived in a small Berber village and implemented environmental sustainability projects. She has worked in leadership roles for a wide range of nonprofit organizations, including the American Civil Liberties Union, Schoolhouse Supplies, and the Near East Foundation. And she has served on numerous boards of directors. For 6 years, she was vice president of the High Atlas Foundation, a nonprofit organized by former Peace Corps volunteers from Morocco. Fanning has a BA in Economics and History from Boston University and a master's in Public Administration with a concentration in finance from NYU's Robert F. Wagner Graduate School of Public Service. Please welcome RPCV Liz Fanning.
Really great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share CorpsAfrica with you. Sorry. The idea for CorpsAfrica, I think she just explained, is promoting the idea of national service for Africans using Peace Corps as our template. And I have to say, I'm not a contest person, but I heard about the RPCV Great Idea Contest, and I had to apply because every time I tell a former Peace Corps volunteer about CorpsAfrica, they say, that is a great idea. I know, I've given my life to it. But the thought of giving a TED-style speech like this was daunting, but I have to say, not to this crowd, because you guys are family. We're the Peace Corps family. No matter what generation, no matter what country you served in, there's a bond. I can meet somebody who served in Guatemala from the 1960s, and we'll talk all night about our shared experiences, and that's one of the things that makes the Peace Corps so special. And it's one of the things that I want to give to Africans, being part of something bigger than themselves. Not just a movement, but a family. So, here we go. I started CorpsAfrica to give Africans the kind of transformative experience that we had and the kind of understanding of poverty that you could only get from living it. But I also started it because I was so frustrated at so many international development efforts. And I really came to believe that the Peace Corps model is the best. And so the idea of living in communities, helping people from within, and it's true demand-driven development. So, I was a Peace Corps volunteer 20 years ago in Morocco. That's me in the hat. And I met a woman at a cafe in Marrakesh. Her name was Fatima, and she asked me about what I was doing, and I told her about the Peace Corps, and I told her about these projects that I was working on. We were living in tents for the whole summer with the shepherds, where they bring the animals. We were studying the ancient tribal laws that govern grazing in order to help people with the environmental degradation. She was so excited, and she said, I want to do that. Can I do that? I'm Moroccan. I want to help my country. Can I be a Peace Corps volunteer? Has this happened to you? I had to say no. And I felt like such an idiot because she was terrific, and she would have done at least as good a job as I was doing. She was just like me. She wanted to help her country, and there was no chance for her to do that. So that coffee with Fatima 20 years ago Even though I never saw her again, it was a life-defining moment for me, but I didn't know it at the time. So fast forward 20 years later, I finished Peace Corps, I went to graduate school, I worked for a number of nonprofit organizations, and I was working for one that actually had projects in Morocco, my host country. And I took a group of donors to see our project, and it was pretty devastating for me because I saw that what we said we were doing and accomplishing really wasn't true. And very few people know that. Peace Corps volunteers know that. We see all these NGOs coming in and they do projects that don't really work and they pat themselves on the back and they leave. And I was really, really devastated by this and started to be, I just started to read a lot of international development books, and I came across Bill Easterly's book, The White Man's Burden. I don't know if you've heard of it. The subtitle is Why International Aid Has Done So Much Harm and So Little Good. I don't believe everything that he said, but his premise is that the only plan is to have no plan. That you don't try to solve poverty. You go in, you work with people, figure it out together with them as partners, and do projects one at a time, respecting the fact that these communities are all unique and different and complex. So, and he also suggested that it should be people from their own country doing this type of work. So I put that together with the Peace Corps model, and I started CorpsAfrica. In 2011, we actually kicked off on March 1st, 2011, which was the exact 50th anniversary of the Peace Corps, because we really want to position ourselves as celebrating this incredible success of the Peace Corps by passing the baton to host country nationals. What better way to honor what the Peace Corps stands for than to offer the opportunity to people in these countries and work in partnership with them. So I spent a year fundraising for CorpsAfrica and trying to get it off the ground while I was working full-time in DC, and we built a great board of directors and advisory council, including Harris Wofford, Aaron Williams, Kevin Quigley, lots of people I'm sure you all know. And we were a sponsored project of MPCA, which helped enormously until we got our own 501c3. And we tried to get it off the ground. It was hard. It was really, really hard. I mean, I almost gave up, but I couldn't. I mean, this absolutely had to happen. There are a number of similar type efforts, but they don't capitalize on the Peace Corps model like we do. We position ourselves as inspired by the Peace Corps, and that is a really powerful thing because people know Peace Corps. They understand what we're trying to do, and they want to be Peace Corps volunteers. Most of our volunteers this first year are former Peace Corps trainers because they understood what we were offering. So I quit my job, I sublet my apartment, and I moved back to Morocco 20 years after being a Peace Corps volunteer last January 2013. We built a Morocco board, we registered as a Moroccan organization, and we have 7 Moroccan CorpsAfrica volunteers living in high poverty communities across Morocco. In fact, they finished their service in August, and we are interviewing this weekend. In fact, right now in Morocco, they're interviewing candidates. We're going to have 25 next year, starting in September. And we hope to expand to Ethiopia and Senegal by the end of this year, which would be really amazing. In fact, we want 2 of our volunteers from this class to be in the first class in Senegal and 2 to be in the first class in Ethiopia. So to start that serving in other countries really quickly. Before I describe the model, I just want to tell you about our volunteers because they remind me all the time of us. They are just like us. They are excited, they're eager for adventure, they're brave, they're patient, they love to complain. They're having fun, and they're making friendships that will last a lifetime, just like we did. So, oh, there they are. Those are our volunteers in their CorpsAfrica shirts. Aren't they amazing? Okay. The model. They serve for 1 year. We're starting with 1 year. Maybe we'll make it 2. It might be different in different countries, but we're starting with 1 year. They go and live in a high poverty community. They facilitate community meetings, and they help the people identify a community development project that they want. And then we go find an NGO that does that project, and they come in and design and implement the project with us. The role of the volunteer is to be the facilitator and the liaison. They don't own the project, the community owns the project. We require 25% participation, investment on the behalf of the community, so that they're owners of the project and not just charity beneficiaries. They can put that money, the value of that by land and labor donations, although I think next year we're going to require a 10% financial match, which is interesting. So they live there. Oh, you can see on the map where they are all over the country. This is where all the money goes. The map that's hanging in my office with everybody, all of our little volunteers. They're so cute. So afterwards, they evaluate the impact of their project. This is another thing we're really committed to. We have, this year we were working with a team of graduate students from NYU. We had a capstone team working with us to develop tools for measuring the impact of the projects that the volunteers create. So we're doing that, and ultimately when we grow, we'll have really powerful tools that we use to consistently measure all of these projects. And we also, one of our ambitious goals is to take the stigma out of failure. We want to talk about our failures. We want to, in this world, if you're not failing, you're doing something wrong. So we want to talk about it. We want to share it. We want to help other people prevent the same mistakes, and that turns the project into a success, and that's called Failing Forward. We didn't make that up, but we're committed to it. So the projects that they're doing this year, Hiba just constructed a preschool in her village in Tizi Ouzou, a small village in the High Atlas Mountains. We all went up there just 2 weeks ago. We hiked up the mountain and spent the weekend there, and the community they put on this big party for us. We were dancing in the streets all night long. It was pretty amazing. Let's see, Wafa is doing a book drive with high schools all around the country to get a beautiful library for her small preschool or elementary school in her village outside of Ben Gurir. Bushra is bringing water to her community. They're piping it in from a village nearby. Someone is doing a community center with computers, a little room for the kids. They've never had a computer in their village before. Let's see. All sorts of things. They're all doing women's cooperatives, actually. They're all helping the women set up cooperatives. So they're listening to the people, and they're helping them come up with a project. And we partner with NGOs whenever we can. This is actually a soccer ball, donated by One World Football. They're indestructible soccer balls, and they're trying to get them in the hands of kids all over the developing world. And they've given 5 for each of our volunteers to take to their villages, and it's remarkable because these kids play with the soccer balls all the time, and they're just starting to realize, it's been a month or 2 since they've had the balls at their site, and they're starting to realize that they're not popping like all the other balls, and they're really excited about it, and they all want more. So it's just a way of being a resource for the NGO community, because we're out in these remote communities like Peace Corps volunteers. So even though our volunteers are from the country where they're serving, they are having a transformative experience. A lot of them are from Casablanca, big cities, Rabat, Fez, Marrakesh, but they're going to live in tiny, tiny villages like Tata and Tizi Ouzou. It really is getting out of their comfort zone. It is a chance for them to do something completely different, to get to know people completely different from themselves. You guys all know this experience. What you come to learn more than anything else, and it takes a really long time to learn this, is that these people are just like you. And that is really powerful, and they're growing. And it'll be interesting to see in our country, in our model, if they stay in touch with their host families, because they're still going to be in the same country. So they are also making friendships that last a lifetime. They really are best friends with each other. They are so bonded. They help each other. They visit each other's sites and help each other with their projects. And they have already talked about starting their own alumni association, like NPCA, which is wonderful. And I'm sure they're going to be best friends for life. So we do copy the Peace Corps model wherever we can. We really do. We have pre-service training. We have field trips. We have a very fancy swearing-in ceremony, that picture in the middle. They take an oath. They live in remote communities. We have in-service trainings. We're going to have a COS conference soon. And we are learning from Peace Corps. We're a startup, but we are building on 50 years of experience. The sites that they go to, the Peace Corps regional directors help me choose the sites for them. It's really a wonderful service, and we don't want to replace Peace Corps. We complement Peace Corps. We try to put our volunteers near where Peace Corps volunteers are so they can work together. It's a wonderful, we call them our Peace Corps cousins, and it's a wonderful relationship. So what we're doing now is, these are our volunteers, and we want to right now create the kind of prestige for the program that the Peace Corps has. We want them to be able to get jobs when they're done. We want to be able to attract more people. Right now it's all about giving them a fantastic experience, and then we want to grow it. We are doing a pilot phase right now, Morocco, and hopefully Senegal and Ethiopia. We'll focus on those 3 countries for 3 years, go through the process 3 times and perfect the model, and then we'll be ready to scale up to the rest of Africa. That's the plan. We're going to Shriverize it, which I understand is what they called Sergeant Shriver. He did everything big and bold, and to Shriverize something is meant to make it bigger and bolder. Our long-term goal is to have 250 volunteers each year in every African country in 10 years. A mix of people serving in their own country, people serving in their own country and in other countries. So I think we can do that, and really there's unlimited potential for CorpsAfrica. Once we do that, we can start thinking about CorpsAsia. But it's interesting, when I first started in Morocco, especially raising money, corporate sponsors specifically, their concern was that Moroccans weren't going to do this. They said, it's not our culture. This is Americans do this. This is what Americans do. Moroccans, you're not going to find people willing to volunteer to go live in a poor community for a year. It's just not what we do. And I said, 50 years ago, that's what they said about Americans. So when they started talking about Peace Corps, they said, you're going to send an American to Zimbabwe to go live in a hut and use a hole for a toilet. They're all going to leave after a week. But they created it anyway, and you didn't leave. Not only didn't you leave, you extended. And then there were thousands, hundreds of thousands of people lining up to do it behind you. And that is a great example for our young people. And I can tell you, after just this year, that young Moroccans, and hopefully all Africans in the near future, when given the opportunity to serve, they step up to it. And like Peace Corps volunteers, they are proving the value of listening, respect, and humility, and friendship in development efforts. And it's so important. And like Peace Corps volunteers, they are learning that they gain at least as much as they give. It's wonderful. So now it's time for you to make a decision. We want this to come from all of us. This Peace Corps. We created a new campaign called Pay It Forward, to pay the Peace Corps forward by giving the opportunity to somebody in one of our host countries to benefit the way we did. The personal and professional benefits are so extraordinary for me, I'm sure for all of you, and these young people, they deserve it too. They want to do it, and they will be great at it because they are just like us. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.